So 2 million years is a long time. If you look at how much your own life has changed in the last 10 years, you'll notice that there's a fair difference. 20 years, an even bigger difference. So 2 million years back, these things happened. Why are we still talking about them today? Why is it important? How many of you feel that the Ramayana is still important in your life today? That's it. Okay, only those many of you think that Ramayana is important. Well, you're still spending your time here in Rav Navmi. So, all right. Well, the fact is that we're still talking about Lord Ram here in Ram Navmi, right? Just last year in Ayodhya again, he's come back to his rightful home where he was born. So it seems like the world's still very interested in Lord Ram. To quote, what they'll say in social media parlance, is still quite relevant. Right? Lord Ram's still very relevant. So some of the lessons that we can learn from Lord Ram, which you can apply in your life, which you can even you can agree to disagree with what I'm about to say. So in the past times, we find in the Ramayana, Lord Ram's growing up. Everybody knows when he's growing up that he is a bit unique. He's very special. In fact, when he's only 7 or 8 years old, there's this famous sage Vishwamitra. He comes into Ayodhya, and he comes to Ayodhya, and generally if an old guest or old friend comes to you, you will say, Hare Krishna, hi, hello, please sit down, how are you? When Dashrath Maharaj meets Vishwamitra, he greets him with a very unusual hello. And it tells you how advanced the people of those times were. So when Vishwamitra meets Dashrath Maharaj, he greets him by saying, oh my dear King Dashrath, good to see you, but how are you faring in your struggle to get out of the circle of birth and death? That's the question he asked Dashrath Maharaj. So how are you faring in your struggle to get out of the circle of birth and death? Of course, Dashrath Maharaj answers him, and then he says, I've come here because I want your son, Ram. I've got these demons who are troubling me in my sacrifices, Subahu and Marichi in particular, the demon sent by Ravan. I want your son. And Dashrath Maharaj is like, he's just 8 years old. Why do you want him now? I mean, what is he going to do in front of those demons? Dashrath Maharaj, considers his son as any ordinary boy. And Vishwamitra then counsels him that your son is not an ordinary boy. He is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. And then as the Ramayana unfolds, Ram, Lakshman, they spend a considerable time with Vishwamitra Muni. They go into the forest. They kill Subahu. They don't quite kill Marichi. He comes a bit later in the Ramayana, in another part of the Ramayana. And you all know that story, right? And then there's the Swayamvar. Lord Ram breaks that famous bow, which is given by whom to Jana? Yeah, but who originally gave it to Parshuram? Yeah, it's Lord Shiva. Yeah, but who originally gave it to Parshuram? Yeah, it's Lord Shiva's bow. He breaks that. He marries Sita Devi, comes back, and then when to stop, when to give up, when do you decide how to pace your life? Now, Dashrath Maharaj, the first question he gets from Vishwamitra Muni, like we said, is, oh my dear King Dashrath, how are you faring in your struggle to get out of the circle of birth and death? By the time Lord Ram comes back to Ayodhya, and he's in his early 20s, in fact he's 25, Dashrath Maharaj, when he's in front of the mirror in the morning, he notices one white hair in his head. And that's the first white hair he has. And as soon as he sees the white hair, he decides, that's it, the time as king to give the kingdom to my eldest son and concentrate more on my Krishna consciousness. Give more time to my spiritual practices, just by seeing one white hair. Oh, and these days we've got, you've got leaders who are even just growing young with age, right? The most powerful country in the world, and the Prime Minister is only 81. Anyway, so Dashrath Maharaj sees his first white hair and he decides, that's it, it's time for a change in guard. And then you know the famous story where what happens next is Lord Ram doesn't become king immediately. Sri Ram doesn't become king immediately. There's this old hunchback servant in Ayodhya. Her name is Manthara. She's particularly close to Kaikeyi Devi. And Kaikeyi Devi is what to Sri Ram in relation to him? Is a stepmother. And of course, so this is one of the first lessons you learn from the Ramayana. Is that what does Manthara do with Kaikeyi that makes King Dashrath Maharaj forcefully or in a very sad way changed his mind. Reminds him of the two boons. But more than that, there's a fair element of emotional blackmail there that goes on. I mean, mantra poisons Kaikeyi's mind. So till up to that point, Kaikeyi is very happy that Sri Ram is going to be the king. Actually, extremely happy. The whole of Ayodhya is very happy. The roads are decorated with sandalwood paste. People are observing a large festival atmosphere. Everyone's dressing up in their best clothes. Everybody is looking forward to the royal coronation ceremony. And then suddenly this tragedy strikes where Mantra has this conversation with Kaikeyi. And that's the point where Maya Devi enters Mantra. And then she is an instrument to have this conversation with Kaikeyi. And even the demigods, they are accelerating this Leela because they want Lord Ram to go to the forest and at some point have this face-off with Ravan. So anyway, it's a Leela, but for us, what is there to learn? Now, in your life, you've all come to the temple here. Many of you are practicing Hare Krishna devotees. The fact that you have come to the temple here on Rav Navmi day says that all of you have a very pious background. There's so many things to do. You're in Sydney, one of the most sought-after cities in the world. You've got the weekend to yourself. It's the first day of daylight savings. It's really good weather there. And of all the places, you've come to the Hare Krishna temple. Okay. Is everything okay? Yes, it is okay. It means that you all have a very real pious background that you've chosen to come here on Ram Navami day. So that's not by design or by chance. You've had a connection with Sri Ram in the past, which is why you've come to observe his appearance day here today. So anyways, coming back to the Ramayana, the pastime. At this point, this is the first point in the Ramayana where you see a certain negative element appear. Mantra poisons Kaikeyi Devi's mind, and Kaikeyi goes and of course she pretends as if she's extremely sad and morose, and when Dashrath Maharaj comes to see her in her inner chambers, she's almost wearing clothes you would wear when you're mourning. She's dressed in black, and then he inquires from her what has happened, and then of course there's that whole conversation, but there's a fair bit of emotional blackmail, and she reminds him of the two boons and so on and so forth. So but Kaikeyi Devi, just a few minutes back, is extremely happy that Lord Ram is going to be made the king. So what changes? One conversation. So, and that conversation happens because of the influence or the association of Mantra, who she treats as a friend, as a servant, right? So what does it mean? There's a very famous saying in English, right? A man is known by the company he keeps. Any of you heard that? Yeah, a man's known by the company he keeps. Even if you read Prabhupada's books, he asserts a lot on the need to have good association or good devotee association. In fact, in modern management, gurus have this thing that there's a modern management saying that you are the sum total of the top 5 people that you hang around. So think about who those top 5 people are. They are actually the biggest influencers in your life, on top of everything else that you have on Instagram and X as it's known and whatever else, or Facebook. The top 5 influences in your life are the 5 people you hang around the most with. So here Kaikeyi Devi, although she's in the right circle, she's in Ayodhya, amongst the Ayodhya Vasis, amongst Dashrath Maharaj, amongst Kaushalya Devi, amongst Sumitra Devi, she just has a soft corner for Mantra, who's the wrong kind of association to hang around. And in that split second, Mantra changes her whole mental makeup. So similarly, in your life, think about a time where things were seemingly going okay, and a conversation or a kind of association with an unwanted kind of element changed your mind. And it doesn't have to be people. These days, we've got so many different kinds of association. Okay, what are the top kinds of association in your life today? It's the people you meet around, at work, at home. What else? Yep, social media. And social media, TV, pretty much anything that you want is just, there's a $2,000 device that you have that has access to most of your association today, right? Or a $2,000 or under $2,000 device is your mobile phone. Your mobile phone, your contacts, the social media channels that you have in there, the YouTube videos, your feed, your personal feed. That's a big source of your association. That influences you so much. That influences you, it influences your family, it influences young minds growing up today. I mean, we're living in a country which is like, what's the other name for Australia? The lucky country, right? Everyone's a lucky country. But then yet, what is the biggest epidemic in Australia? Yeah, close, alcoholism. What's the biggest epidemic in Australia? You know, you don't see all the ads. 1 in every 3rd person has it. Depression, close to depression. Yeah, 1 in every 3rd person. Yeah, gambling. That's it. Someone said mental health there. Yep, mental health. You can club anxiety, peer pressure, depression, all of that into mental health. 1 in every 3 people, and I've worked in the health sector here, I know more than I should, but 1 in every 3 people in Australia is afflicted by one kind or the other of a mental health malaise. Mental health illness is the most rampant, it's the most rampant epidemic in Australia. And you wouldn't think, right? It's the lucky country, pretty high standard of living here, but then 1 in every 3 people has got mental health illness. A lot of the mental health illness these days is contributed to, you've heard things like social media addiction, or phone addiction. Yes? No? Yeah. What is social media addiction and phone addiction? Okay, it's a subset of the phone addiction, right? You need the phone for the social media addiction. And mostly you're watching things which you probably didn't need 15, 20 years ago. And it turns into a spiraling addiction, and then whatever, you're at the mercy of your feed, of your social media feed, not at the mercy of Sri Ram then. So, and then whatever the social media feeds and reels you have, and the other thing that tells us that we're advancing in the Kali Yuga, right? Even with the social media thing, when it came out, when Facebook came out, when YouTube came out, you could even go to YouTube and you'd listen to all these lectures. 2-hour lectures, 1-hour lectures, yes, that's easy. Your favorite pop songs, you'd listen to them on YouTube. Of course, you'd listen to them on Spotify. Now, as the Kali Yuga advances, it's written in the Bhagavatam that devotees are requested to come forward so that it's easy for the people having darshan, if you can, please. So, with social media, in the last 10 years, you know, and if you think I'm wrong, and please put your hand up and say no. But even with social media, 10 years ago when it came out, when you first had exposure to YouTube, probably 2005, so it's a bit longer than 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you used to have 1 hour long videos, half an hour long videos. Then social media came in, and then now you've got shorts and reels. Even in the music industry, you've got mashups, a lot of songs mashed up together. Anyone heard of shorts and reels on YouTube? I mean, if you haven't heard it, then you're out of place today. So why are the videos shorter? Why are the reels also shorter? Our attention span is shorter. Our memory is, it's actually decaying. So actually, we're following the Srimad Bhagavatam script, whether we like it or not. People are, as the Bhagavatam says, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Verse 20, Sumanda Manda Moodaha. So it says, as the Kali Yuga progresses, people become more quarrelsome, more lazy, and lesser intelligent. The fact that you can't focus your mind on a 5-minute song and you need a mashup of 5 songs in 5 minutes tells you that, okay, the attention span is decreasing. And people know it. All of the videos that are curated in your YouTube stream, they don't appear randomly. There's a lot of very intelligent social media analysts. You've got artificial intelligence. I mean, very much as the Kali Yuga progresses, there'll be very little natural intelligence. It's all artificial intelligence. They curate these videos to make them of a short duration because they know that that's the sweet spot. The 1-minute videos are becoming half-a-minute videos. Now, you've got 20-second videos. Because they know that's the attention span to grab the person's attention if you want to sell something to them or get them interested in something. And that's your biggest association these days, social media addiction. And imagine, and this is social media addiction, a lot of adults, social media addiction is on the rise because a lot of adults are reporting that we've got social media addiction. There's a lot of kids under the age of 18 who you never know about, who are under the influence of social media addiction, right? So why I have come to that is those are the kinds of the biggest influences in your life today. At least there in the Treta Yuga, Mantra had to put in a fair bit of effort with KK to do a number on her, to really, change her mind. These days it's far easier, very, very easy. If you want to place a bet, someone mentioned gambling here. To gamble in 15 years ago, you had to search out the local pub, you had to go somewhere to gamble, you had to go to the race course. Now you can just do it on the phone. If you've got a sports bet account and a sports bet app, you can just do it there. I mean, they'll take all your money and then tell you gamble responsibly, but the damage is done, right? So all of that is achieved through your phone. If during pandemic where everyone was cooped inside, the sales of liquor went through the roof. There you go, 70%. And people weren't going to a pub because you weren't allowed to go within 5 kilometers of your house to order. You could just do it sitting at home with, just pressing a few buttons on your phone. So the mantra in our life is, the mantra is the mobile phone. So know your mantra very well. Kaikai knew mantra, or felt she knew mantra very well, and mantra influenced her in a few minutes, right? To change her mind that Ram's not the hero, Ram's the villain. Bharat's the hero. So similarly, your mobile phone can influence your mind in a matter of minutes. You won't even realize it. How many of you have got a Netflix account? No, don't be ashamed. Even I've got one. I'll put both hands if you want. How many of you have a Netflix account? Honest, be honest. Today is Rav Navmi. Let's be honest with each other. Lord Ram was known for always speaking the truth, right? Yeah, okay, we've got quite a few people with Netflix accounts. Oh, no. All right, a few accounts at one. All right, even better. What is the number one show on Netflix today? It trended number 2 yesterday. The number 2 show in Netflix today. It was number 1 for there you go, you know it as well. Adolescence. And the way the mind works is, the first thing you'll do after getting out of this class is you'll look what is adolescence. So adolescence is the number 1 show, right? How many of you have watched it? Yeah, okay. And you watch the show, it gets you really thinking. And all these shows, the fact that a show is trending number 1 in Netflix means it's very popular, a lot of people are watching it, means it's very appealing, and means that it's very relevant to the times that you live in. Things are just it's not by fluke. Now in India, you've got the IPL going on, right? The India Premier League. It's one of the largest sporting leagues in the world. It's only 12, 15 years old. Started in 2008. Oh, so just 17 years old. But it's very popular. It's next only to the NBA and the AFL in market capitalization. 3rd richest league in the world. Why? Because it's popular. It's very relevant to the times. Similarly, Adolescence, that show. Very relevant to today's time. And what's it about? It's about a 13-year-old boy. A 13-year-old boy who's arrested because he's suspected of having murdered a classmate of his, a girl classmate of his. Why? Because I won't spoil the plot for you, but seemingly rejects his advances. And when you go through the whole show, the boy is discovered to be an incel. Anyone know what an incel is? I know, I learned it from you, Jivananda Prabhu. That's why I know what an incel is. Anybody else know what an incel is? I'll tell you what, all the devotees that we have living upstairs, they're cells. This is an incel. You don't know what an incel is? Of course you know. Yeah. So the cell in the incel is celibate. Now you'll say, okay, that's a really good thing. The cell in the incel is a celibate. That's why I said all the devotees we have living upstairs, they're the cells here. An incel is an involuntary celibate. This is your learning. And by the way, even in Adolescence, the show, the detective who's investigating, he's trying the normal conventional ways of investigating in the school. His son who's studying in the school takes him aside and saying, you're actually blundering this big time, Dad. This is what the social media messages mean. That girl was actually bullying the boy and calling him an incel. And he says, what's an incel? And then he explains. An incel is an involuntary celibate. Now, what's an involuntary celibate? Okay, someone who wanted to be a Rishi Muni, but they couldn't be. So you became a Vishwamitra by mistake, or a Vashishta by mistake. I mean, you wish, but it's not quite that. An involuntary celibate is someone who is attracted to the opposite gender, would like to have relations with the opposite gender, but for whatever reason isn't very popular with the opposite gender, and hence over a period of time develops a sense of hatred or borderline hatred and anger towards the opposite gender. That's an incel. This is the Kali Yuga, right? It twists you. I mean, 15 years back, celibate, okay, that's pretty good, right? Incel, the Kali Yuga, is an involuntary celibate. Doesn't want to be one, but is forced to be one. And that's what that show is about. And in the end, of course, the boy confesses that he pleads guilty, right? So that's number one on Netflix. You watch that and you tell me that's not influencing you, I'll say you're lying. I'll actually say you're lying. You watch those kind of shows, you need to watch something else to get it off your head. And that is the number one trending show in Netflix today. And Netflix isn't a poor company, right? They've got millions and millions of subscribers. And amongst those millions and millions of subscribers, that is the number one influencer today. That's like Mantra Devi times 100 beaming in your living rooms. And like that, there's many other shows. So anyway, so lesson number one from the Ramayana. Be very, very careful about the association you keep. That in that adolescence, it's got a good scene at the end where the parents of the child are quite wondering that we raised him so normally, how come this happened? And they're asking themselves, okay, now I remember he used to be in his own room, locked up and his light would be on till 1 a.m. Who knows what he was up to? He was probably watching all this on social media. Who knows what he was watching? And that was his mantra in his room. And maybe that turned him. And they're actually wondering, what did we do that our son turned out like this? He turned out a murderer at the age of 13. And they're wondering, and they were questioning themselves that what did we do wrong? And they can't find anything wrong that they did. So it's the influence, right? It's the association that the son has. And like that, similarly in the Ramayana, it was just, there was the association mantra that got Kaikeyi to act the way she did. But it's all justified reason. In that case, the demigods also wanted Kaikeyi to behave like that. But here in the Kali Yuga, this is how, Maya Devi enters the Treta Yuga with great difficulty into Mantra's head at that point in time. At this point in time, so there's a saying in the scriptures, in the Shastras, that in the Satya Yuga, the demons and the demigods used to live on different planets. In the Treta Yuga, you have Ayodhya here, you have Lanka there. They used to live in different parts of the world, different islands. In the Dwapar Yuga, Mahabharata, right? The cousins who famously got along with each other, the Kauravas and the Pandavas, used to be living in the same family. And in the Kali Yuga, the demigods, the divine, the demoniac influences live in the same body. So they're all living within you. It's just a matter of who gets what association. Are you going to feed the good dog or the bad dog, as Radhanath Maharaj would say? If you feed the bad dog, then you'll have you'll do some things which even you will scratch your head and think, how was I capable of doing that? So that's the difference between the Treta Yuga and the Kali Yuga. So that's the first lesson from the Mahabharata, from the Ramayana, the lesson of association. Think about it. It's one of the big takeaways from the class today. How the association, the company you keep, the bearing it has on your character, on those around you, on the young minds around you. So that's that in the Ramayana. What else? The other lessons that we have in the Ramayana, which is like selflessness. Practically every character in the Ramayana, a lot of the characters are very selfless. So Kaikeyi Devi, she does all this plotting and prodding that she does to get Bharat on the throne. But Bharat doesn't end up becoming on the throne. Bharat in fact goes to the forest telling Lord Ram that you be on the throne. I don't want to have anything to do with the throne. For 14 years till Lord Ram comes back, he subsists on a diet of barley mixed in cow urine. That's all he has for 14 years. And he's worshipping Lord Ram's sandals. And because Lord Ram in Chitrakoot, that place, tells him, here, Bharat tries his best to convince Lord Ram, let's swap places. We'll keep our father's vow. I'll be in the forest for 14 years. You and Sita Devi come back to Ayodhya and rule. He says, no, this is the vow that I gave to our father. So here, you rule. But then he says, I can't rule. You are meant to be the king, not me. I'll never be the king. So then Lord Ram famously gives him his wooden sandals, or they're called padukas in Sanskrit. And Bharat worships these wooden shoes for 14 years. And Lord Ram tells him that these shoes are non-different from me. And Bharat believes him. And for 14 years in Ayodhya, he rules very peacefully. So, Lord Ram, what he said was true, right? You all believe that the Lord Ram's shoes were non-different from him. How many of you believe it? Raise your hands. Okay. So then when Prabhupada tells us, or where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells us that in the Kali Yuga, what is non-different from Krishna? The holy name. If the holy name is non-different from Krishna, then you should believe that too. So just like in the Treta Yuga, Lord Ram's shoes were non-different from Lord Ram, here in the Kali Yuga, or any Yuga for that matter, but especially in the Kali Yuga, Krishna's name is non-different from him. Krishna's name has Rama in there. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains, when you chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, in the Aishwarya Bhav, Ram refers to Ramachandra. In the Madhurya Bhav, or the conjugal mood, it refers to it refers to one who attracts Radharani, which is Krishna. So, just like Lord Ram's shoes are non-different from him, Krishna's name or Lord Ram's name is non-different from Krishna or Ram. So you chant their name in the Kali Yuga and do it in a very wholesale way. You can do it for 14 years and see the effect on you yourself. So that's the other lesson from the Ramayana. There's many other lessons. Then we learn. Then if we analyze the characters of the Ramayana, particularly Lord Ram, and even all the Rama Bhaktas, they have this very unique disposition. They're all extremely kind. Just like Lord Ram is extremely kind. How many of you think that Lord Ram is extremely kind? Okay, so Krishna tells us in the Bhagavad Gita, right? He tells us in various ways how to become his devotee. And what is Krishna says this 3 or 4 times in the Bhagavad Gita. This is proving that Lord Ram is even kinder than Krishna. What is Krishna always telling us to do 3 or 4 times in the Bhagavad Gita? Yeah, surrender in the end, he says, but before surrender. What are the various ways through which you approach? Yeah, fixing your mind on me. And? Yeah, before Sarva Dharman Paritaj. Yeah, very good. There you go, Prabhu said it, right? 3 or 4 times this verse appears in the Bhagavad Gita. Manmana mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijanihi priyotsime. Always worship me, offer your obeisances to me, bow down before me, think of me. In this way, you are not my devotee anymore. In fact, you are my dear friend. This is what Krishna tells you. But even to become, then Krishna also says in chapter 7, verse 28 of the Bhagavad Gita, to come to the stage where you're coming to Krishna, to the temple, offering obeisances, thinking of Krishna, chanting his name, that's like a more advanced form of devotional service. But to get to that stage, Krishna says, Yesham tu anta gata papam. What else? Yep, jananam punya karmanam te dvanda moha nirmukta bhajante mam drida vritaha. So what's the translation of this verse? Krishna says to even come to this stage where you're coming and worshipping me, what is the qualification? He says persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life. So you've acted piously in previous lives and in this life. That's why you're here today. And whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are free from the dualities of illusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. So to come to the stage of worshipping Krishna, you've acted very previously in past lives and in this life. But that's the condition. And you have been eradicated from all your sinful reactions. That is why you have taken to Krishna consciousness. Now let's look at the opposite of what Lord Ram says. Okay, what does he say? Now moving on in the Ramayana, we'll do a little bit of a fast forward. They go to the forest. We know what happens in the forest. There's a number of demons they encounter in the way. They kill them. Ravan makes his infamous entry into the Ramayana. He kidnaps Sita Devi. Of course, there's a little bit of association that Ravan has there as well. Just as Kaikai has the influence of Manthara, Ravan has Shurpanka in his ear. who tells him a little bit about Sita Devi, and that gets him to come and kidnap her. Moving on, and then Lord Ram meets his famous friends, the Vanara, or the monkey army, headed by Sugriva and Hanuman. He helps kill Vali, install Sugriva as the monkey king. Then the monkeys go around in their different directions. Hanuman happens to go south and he finds where Sita Devi is. He does a few things before he comes back and reports his findings to Lord Ram. And effectively the scene is set for the war, the famous war in the Ramayana. And what happens before the war? Now Ravan has this very famous brother. What's his brother's name? One's the brother who sleeps a lot, Kumbhakarna, we know him. Yeah, Vibhishan. Whose side does Vibhishan take in the war? Yeah, and Vibhishan's always is the good influence on Ravan, who Ravan doesn't want to listen to. He tells Ravan that, he constantly tells Ravan, give up Sita, think of all of these demons that you've lost so far. There's these demons, Khara and Dushan, they go to the forest and with an army of 14,000, and Ram and Lakshman, they just kill them like easily. It says those were invincible demons who were killed. Then think of Ram's messenger, that monkey who came. He wrecked our whole garden, burnt our whole city, killed one of your princesses single-handedly. And if he can do that, then imagine what his master is capable of. Think of what you're doing. In fact, there's a famous pastime in the Ramayana there. When the war starts and Ravan's having one casualty after the other, he decides to go to Kumbhakarna and wake him up. So Kumbhakarna is sleeping 6 months of the year, so he wakes him up. When Kumbhakarna hears of the whole story and what has happened, he's actually a very intelligent person, Kumbhakarna. What Kumbhakarna does is he takes Ram to a different spot, and he shows him this place, and he shows Ravan, sorry, not Ram. So Kumbhakarna takes Ravan to this spot and shows him this place which is like bright and effulgent. And Ravan saying, where have you brought me? Can you see what is there in front of you? And he sees this huge gold structure. And he says, this is some gold mountain. How come I've never heard of it before? This must be mine too. And Kumbhakarna says, you know what that gold mountain is? It's one earring. It's one earring of Hiranyakashipu. It's one earring of Hiranyakashipu. And Hiranyakashipu was killed by who? By Narsimhadev in the Satya Yuga. It says that's the earring from his left ear. That's one. So if that earring was so big, imagine how big Hiranyakashipu was. And Hiranyakashipu was like easily accommodated on Narsimhadev's lap. And Narsimhadev kills him. Easily. Says, now you think that Narsimhadev is none other than this Ramachandra whom you have messed around with. You are fighting with the same person. So what chance do you have, or what chance do I have? So give back his wife, it's actually a good bargain. Give back his wife, he's not going to trouble us after that. But Ravan doesn't listen. But this is the counsel that Ravan gets. So we're coming to Vibhishan. So Vibhishan, along with some of his some of his trusted advisors, who also go away with Ravan kicks Vibhishan out of Sri Lanka. He tells him, you're a traitor. You're supposed to be my brother. You're supposed to help me. Instead, you're singing the glories of Ram. Get out of this country. And he throws him out of Lanka. And Vibhishan's going to see Lord Ram. But who does he meet before he sees Lord Ram? Okay, he meets all the monkeys. And the monkeys, they beat up all the Rakshasas that Vibhishan's come with. And they're pleading their case that, we have come here to be on your side, don't beat us. And then all the monkeys, they go to Lord Ram at this point in the Ramayana. It's in the Yuddha Kand of the Ramayana. And they go and tell Ram that, Vibhishan has come here. He's Ravan's own brother. And he's come with some of his servants. And he's claiming that he wants to be on your side. And then Ram says, okay, so what do you think? He tells Sugriva. And Sugriva says, well, once a demon, always a demon. Once a demon, always a demon. You can never trust them. Who knows? He must be Ravan's spy. And then he looks at Hanuman and he says, what do you think? Hanuman says, when I went as a messenger and when they wanted to burn my tail, Vibhishan was the one who told Ravan that, he's come as a messenger. So according to the codes of diplomacy, you should never harm a diplomat. You should never harm a messenger. Let him go. So he seemed to be very righteous even when I was hopping through the palaces of Lanka. So I think there's an element of truth. Then Lord Ram says, okay, let me tell you a story. And this is like a very lesser known story in the Ramayana. So Lord Ram is telling the story, and this kind of explains his character a lot in the Ramayana. He says that once in the forest there was this man who went hunting in the forest, and then very soon he became very tired, and it's a forest full of ferocious animals. And then a tiger sees that man and runs after the man to kill him and eat him. Just in the nick of time, this is Lord Ram narrating this incident to the monkey army. It says, just in the nick of time, before the tiger is able to catch the man, he climbs a tree. And he climbs a tree and he sees that there's a monkey on the tree. So the tiger sees both the man and the monkey. And the tiger looks at the monkey and says, oh, my dear monkey brother, you know, these human beings, they always trouble you. In the normal course of life, these human beings beat you when you hop around from one tree to the other and steal their fruits. They don't like that. If you ever get down the tree, they release their dogs on you. And in general, they're always looking out to beat you or get rid of you. So, they are our mutual enemy. So why don't you do one thing? Push that man and let him fall down and I'll eat him. I'm a man-eating tiger now. I've tasted man's blood. I can't live without it. So you give me my supper and I'll never harm you. We are brothers. So the monkey tells the tiger that I'm a monkey, you're a tiger, we are animals, we are not bound by any codes of dharma. But he's a human being, he's bound by the codes of dharma. But even though I'm not bound by the codes of dharma, if someone is in a distressful state, I cannot give them more pain. So tiger says, okay, looks like I've got a wise monkey here. So then he looks at the man and the tiger speaks to the man. And he says, okay, look, actually you're also like my brother only. But and like the monkey said, you're a human being, you follow the codes of dharma. He does not have to follow the codes of dharma, but you have to follow the codes of dharma. You're a human being. One of the codes of dharma is to feed the hungry. And where's your Food for Life program? Like, I'm hungry here. So please, push that monkey from the tree and I'll have my dinner today. And the man says, okay, this is a very quick way to get rid of my troubles. He pushes the monkey out of the tree. And this is the story, again, repeated by Lord Ram, narrated by Lord Ram. So the monkey falls down, but the tiger doesn't do anything and allows the monkey to climb the tree again. The monkey climbs the tree again, the man's looking at the tiger, and then the tiger looks at the monkey and says, see, I told you so. These human beings, you were saying that he has to follow the codes of dharma, but he's an irreligious person, he's like an adharmic person. In fact, you're more ethical than this so-called human being. So now do the right thing. Now let's teach him a lesson. Shake the branch and let him fall down and I'll have my dinner and we'll both we'll teach this human being a lesson. And the monkey says, yeah, it is true that this man is irreligious, but still my conscience doesn't allow me to do what you're asking me to do. And now after saying the story, Lord Ram looks at the monkeys and he's saying that out of all the births that one can have, the human birth is certainly very rare, very rarely achieved, and it's a very high birth. But still there is a history in the humankind, a history of showing irreligious behavior which you won't even find in the society of animals. Of course, we're in a very civilized time and very civilized point of history, right? So there's no irreligious behavior now. Yes? Oh, no. Yeah, okay, no, right. Yeah, back then, even the monkeys and the demons, when they were fighting in the Ramayana, they were fighting against each other. The civilians weren't impacted. Same in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. The two armies are fighting against each other. The civilian life goes on normally. But now when you have a war start, we had a war start 2 years back, it's been 3 years now. The first thing that was hit was a civilian hospital. So we have actually, like Lord Ram says, in the human society you can find many people who are more irreligious than anything you will find even in the society of animals. So he's saying, but that is why I have come here, to bring the human standard, to lift the human standard and bring the religious standard to human life. And then he says, Lord Ram, he says this verse in the Yuddha Kanda. He says, this tells you a bit about Lord Ram and then by extension his devotees. He says, Mitra bhavena sampraptam na tyajejam katham chana dosho yati api tasya syad shotram etad agrahitam. So Lord Ram says, I cannot refuse to receive under any circumstances one who has come to me in friendly spirit. So he says again, I can't refuse to receive under any circumstances one who has come to me in friendly spirit. There's Lord Ram, you've all come in a friendly spirit. So he's saying, I can't refuse to receive you. Even if there is wickedness in him, and mind you, in the Kali Yuga, what did we agree on? The demon and the divine qualities reside in the same person, right? So even if there is wickedness in him or her, their acceptance is not reprehensible in the eyes of good people. So even if we're not quite the finished article, if you appear here in front of Lord Ram, this is another takeaway. He's saying in the Ramayana, I cannot refuse to receive such a person. And then he says in the Yuddha Kanda, he says a very, very famous verse of the Ramayana. It's a verse that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to quote quite often. It's quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita also. If anything, a takeaway from the class, let's all recite it together. This is probably the takeaway from the class for you today. So I'll say it and you can repeat it. It says, Sakrit eva prapanno yes tavasmiti chayachate abhayam sarvada tasmai dadati etad vratam mama. So Sakrit eva prapanno yes tavasmiti chayachate abhayam sarvada tasmai dadati etad vratam mama. It's a very famous verse of the Ramayana, one of the most famous verses of the Ramayana. This is Lord Ram looking at Sugriv, Hanuman and even Vibhishan, and he is saying that if only once, even once, a person comes to me, only once, if a person approaches me and looks at me and says that I am yours from today and prays for courage, I'll give them fearlessness, and from that day they are safe. They are under my refuge. Of this there is no doubt. So what is Krishna asking you to do? Acting piously in this life and many previous lives before you can take to his devotional service. What's Lord Ram asking you to do? Just show up once and say that I am yours from today. And you have full protection of Lord Ram from that day. And you have fearlessness in your heart. Abhayam, he says. Abhayam sarvada tasmai. Fearlessness always. Dadati etad vratam mama. Dadati means I give. Vratam mama means this is my vow. This is Lord Ram's vow. Lord Ram's vow never fails. So is Lord Ram kinder than Krishna? Yeah, you can say it in a Hare Krishna temple. They'll still allow you entry, I'll tell you, I promise. He is, right? He is. So, to Krishna, to approach Krishna, you need to have acted piously in previous lives and in this life. With Lord Ram, all you have to do is just please come and say, I am yours from today. And then someone who's even kinder than Lord Ram. Who's that? Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to your house and tries to bring you here. With Lord Ram, the condition is you come to me. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, if you don't come to me, I come to you. And in the Kali Yuga, he says, the more fallen you are, the more into adolescence, the Netflix series you are, the more you're the right candidate to come to me. So those are the kind of people that I want to approach. And then how does he get to you? He gets through you through a morsel of prasad here, by meeting a devotee on the street here, taking a book from them here, coming to the temple, attending your first Bhakti Viksha program, maybe going to a Hare Krishna restaurant, having some prasadam there, or even just observing a Harinam on the street. That is planting the seed. But who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in relation to Ram? So there's another famous story, lesser known story. In the Chaitanya Mangala, this is about when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born. So what was the name of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's father? Oh, we had Gaur Purnim last month. Yeah, Jagannath Mishra. And what was the name of his mom? Sachi Devi. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and this is a story, this is narrated by Narahari Chakravarti Thakur, very famous Vaishnava. He wrote a book called the Bhakti Ratnakar, it's from there. So there was this Brahman who at the time when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born, he happened to be in Jagannath Mishra's house. And he saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Devi, on Gaur Purnim day. And as soon as he saw him, he was a Brahma Bhakta. That Brahman was a very, very staunch Rama Bhakta. And his only wish in life was that one day maybe I can have darshan of Lord Ram. So when he looked at the baby, something came over him, but when he was looking at the baby, he could suddenly just see the form of Lord Ram. In fact, the word used by Narahari Chakravarti Thakur is, he could see the Durvadala Sham Ram. Sham is a name of Krishna. It means one who has a blackish complexion. Sham Sundar is one of the names of Krishna. One who's got a blackish bluish complexion. Durvadala Sham Ram is a name of Lord Ram. Durva is a kind of grass. What's usually the color of grass? Yep, so it means one who has this greenish complexion, which is the color of the Durva grass, is Durvadala Sham Ram. So when this Brahman is looking at little Nimai, he can see Lord Ram. So he thinks to himself, oh, geez, where's the nearest Specsavers? I mean, looking at this baby and I can see Lord Ram. And then thinking of, and it's described, he's seeing and then he looks at that and he comes back home and in his head, when he comes back home and he has these deities of Lord Ram, Sita Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman, he looks at the deities, again, he's seeing Gauranitai in front of him. A grown-up Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityanand Mahaprabhu. And he's like, and it's described. He can see the golden complexion, moon-like face, arms all the way to the knees, broad chest, lotus eyes, silky curling hair, a flower crown, sacred thread ceremony, a sacred thread hanging around his neck. And not only that, he can see that this personality is surrounded by Lord Brahma and other demigods with folded hands. And the Brahman, he's just awestruck. And he's trying to come to terms with, and he's gazing at this exquisitely beautiful form of Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And just as his mind is adjusting to the form of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Gauranga Mahaprabhu plays a trick on him, immediately changes his form. And he sees the form, he sees Sita Devi in front of Sri Ram in a royal opulent dress with a smiling face. And in front of him, you've got Lakshman with the umbrella, and at his feet, you've got Hanuman. And he says, this is the object of my life. All my life, this is what I was praying for. And he he offers his obeisances to Lord Ram, the Sita Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman. His deities become lifelike. They become the actual forms of Sita Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman. He just wakes up and he starts to cry that, Lord Ram here is in front of me. And then again, Lord Ram changes his form to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and tells him, don't tell anyone that I've come here like this before you. And the verse there is, Etha Gaura Chandra Nija Ganesha Sahite Prakash Ram Leela Dekhiko Sakshate. Thus, in that place, Sri Gaurachandra and his associates directly manifested the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra for those who could see them. So we've established in degrees of kindness. Krishna is very kind. Give him a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, he'll accept it if you do it in a mood of humility and devotion. Lord Ram's even kinder than him. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is even kinder than Lord Ram, is the takeaway for today's class. So, and then to prove that, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is come in the form of Radha and Krishna combined. Yes. So you have one particular character in the Chaitanya Charitamrit, where no matter how much, he tells Chaitanya Mahaprabhu one day, he's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's physician or doctor. His name is Murari Gupta. He tells Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that, no matter how much I try to meditate on Krishna, you keep telling us to meditate on Radha and Krishna. No matter every time I try to do that, I can only see Sita Ram. And then Murari Gupta, what he also does is he also recites these prayers known as Ramashtakam. He recites these whole prayers called Ramashtakam. It's a series of 8 prayers. And in those 8 prayers, he describes everyone in the Ramayana except for whom? Murari Gupta describes, glorifies everybody in the Ramayana except for Hanuman, because he is Hanuman himself. And then and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells him, there's a reason that you always see Sitaram, because we have come many times together. This is who you really are. And that place, that part of the Chaitanya Charitamrita is called the Mahaprakash Leela. He says, you are Hanuman and I am Ram. And then after hearing the 8 verses composed by the physician Murari, so there's a verse for that. It says, Ittam Nishmaya Raghu Nandana Raja Simha Shlokas Takam Sa Bhagwan Charanam Murarehe Vaidasya Murdini Vindhaya Lilekha Bhale Tvam Ramadas Iti Bhora Bhav Mat Prasadat. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, after hearing these 8 verses composed by the physician Murari Gupta, describing Sri Ram, the lion amongst kings and the delight of the Raghu dynasty, placing his foot, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, placing his foot on the physician's head. Who's the physician? The doctor? I was just checking if you're awake. Yeah. Murari Gupta. Sri Gaura Sundar wrote the words. So he gives the first tattoo in the history of the Hare Krishna movement. Now, of course, devotees have put quite a few. But the first tattoo was made by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on Murari Gupta's head. You can choose to get it. He wrote the words Ramadas on his forehead. And he said, by my mercy, be forever Sri Ram's servant. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very kind, allows you to worship whoever you want. Okay, that's the end of the class. So, Sri Ramachandra ki, Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki. Got 2 minutes. Anyone got any questions, comments? Okay. Thank you very much. Sri Rav Navmi ki. Jai.